Alright, hey there, I'm back, and guess what? I'm not doing a contest entry this time. I know you've been saying, man, Jeff has been doing a lot of contest entries. Anyway, I actually got out this weekend. Today's Saturday, and I had off on Friday. And so yesterday, the wife and I went out, hit a couple record stores, just kind of doing some running around. She actually wanted something at one of the stores. And then we had to go pick up our daughter, and it was near another one. So I said, drop me off and then go pick up my daughter. So yesterday. Now, I got some stuff. But before that, today in the mail, let's cover the new stuff first. This is the only new stuff I got in so far. Today in the mail, I got two albums that I bought them from Boone's Overstock, but they were actually reissued by, is it Cult Metal Music? Anyway, over in Greece. Anyway, so, and you may not be familiar with these bands. I don't know, maybe they're kind of obscure, but this is the Messiah. This is 1984. So this is labeled as one of the early Christian rock bands. They've been around since the 70s, and this album came out. And to find this these days, if you were to find a copy of this these days on record, it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's one of those really obscure, try to get your hands on it type releases. So it has been reissued now, and it came in. So it's really cool. The I'll show you the insert in a second. The insert's about the same. So this is the 84 release called Final Warning. Reproduction of the artwork and everything. And, you know, I would classify this as, you know, kind of a classic hard rock. You know, maybe what would be considered a kind of a sludgier metal, kind of a hard rock type thing for the most part. All right, and then in 85, and again, you find these on vinyl anywhere now that's not these, and you'll pay a pretty penny. 85, we have Going Insane. It doesn't even say that on there. It says on the back. And this was more or less an EP, and they've added some bonus tracks to it. So, Going Insane. So it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs, and then there's 3 demos from 1979, which are songs from the other album. Cult Metal Classics. That's who it was reissued by in Greece. Issued under license by Retroactive. Okay, you know, I kind of didn't realize that they also were involved in that. So yeah, so the band is 79 to 85, and then it was released in 2020. So honestly, I don't know a whole lot about the band. It's one of those kind of obscure bands that we kind of always had on the radar, but didn't know a whole lot about. And in 2010, Retroactive Records reissued them on CD, and that was great. It was remastered and things, so it's nice to have them on vinyl. But now, and I pulled this out of one of them, it does come with, and now in both cases, the inserts are identical except the lyric side. So you've got the story of Messiah, and I want to read this one day, but look at that. Look at the size print. Look at the shadow. Look at the size print. And there's more. Look at the size of the print. I think literally I'm going to have to get a magnifying glass, or I'm going to need worse, stronger glasses when I'm done. And then on the back of each, so each one of them has all the same 4-panel thing that has the same story and photos. And then on the back, each one has the lyric sheet for that particular album. It was amazing years ago when Retroactive put them out on CD, and now it's even more amazing now that we have them on vinyl, and you know, they sound wonderful. I could never afford the original. Anyway, so that's the new stuff. Now, get back to my story. Wife and I went out yesterday. She had to find something, so it wasn't too hard to convince me to go to one of my record stores that I go to all the time. So this was a store that I went to back on Father's Day. If you look at my Father's Day video, I went in there, I had a gift card. The kids bought me a gift card. I bought some stuff. And one of the things I picked up was the Gene Simmons solo album. And I mentioned now the only one I needed was Paul Stanley. Now, they had Paul Stanley at this record store, but it was a lot of ring wear. It was just kind of in rough condition. Well, I went back And in the newly acquired used stuff, they had another copy. And honestly, it was, the cover, I don't even really, there's hardly any ring wear. It's an original press, it's not the reissue. It had the original insert. The record itself was in great condition. Doesn't have the poster. It does have the order form though. That was kind of neat. So it has the order form in there, but it didn't have the poster. So you've got the original order form. My wife's like, hey, what if you tried to order something? Is that stuff still available? I'm like, yeah, Gene Simmons probably markets it still, but it's probably arm and a leg more. So I picked that up. Now, I have all 4 of the solo albums. I have an original pressing now of Paul Stanley. I have an original pressing of Ace Frehley, which is a little rough around the edges, but it's the vinyl is decent enough after I cleaned it up. And a picture disc of Peter Criss. I bought it because it was cheap. I do want to get a regular version. And then I've got the reissue of the Gene Simmons one. So he's the only one I've got. Well, the picture disc is a reissue too. Okay, so I picked that up at that store. Kept flipping, and they didn't have a whole lot else, but they did have a $3 bin. My camera keeps shaking. I gotta quit that. Okay, had to restabilize the camera. Went through the $3 bin because my wife had gone next door shopping, so I had some time to kill, and I picked up a couple. Decent copy of Ted Nugent. It was a little dirty. State of Shock. I never was really much into him back in the day, and I know a lot of people love him, and I know he's talked about a lot. I have a lot of digital music by him over the years I've just acquired through trades or whatever. But I'm gonna pick it up if I see it, some of the classic stuff. So the price was right, and then it was a little dirty, so I brought it home last night and cleaned it up, and it looks marvelous, and it plays fine. I played it last night, cool stuff. And then Vandenberg's Alibi. What is this, like the second, or I don't know? It's not the first. Obviously, the first one was self-titled. Second or third, 85 Alibi, and it was in great shape. And again, $3 bin. Figured I'd grab it. Then we had to go pick my daughter up, and my wife dropped me off at the other store that I used to go to a lot more because it's nearer to work, but I don't go there as much. But I went in there, she dropped me off, was flipping through, picked up a first glance April wine. It was in decent condition, brought it home, cleaned it up, played it, sounds great. And these are just, nothing major, just fillers to fill in. This one though I thought was great. It was weird because I just was going through my Discogs and adding stuff to my want list, and I saw this, or I added additional copies of this. Now, if you don't know a lot about Van Zandt, let me give you some info. If you do know a lot about it, zone out for a few moments. But okay, so this is Johnny Van Zandt. Now, Johnny Van Zandt is the youngest brother of Ronnie Van Zandt, who you know from the Leonard Skinner days, who died in the plane crash in '77. And Donnie Van Zandt, singer for 38 Special. Johnny Van Zandt. So, this is his 1985 album where they changed the name just to Van Zandt. That's just it was like a ploy to, I'm assuming, Van Zandt, Van Halen, go by the last name, Zippy, They kind of lost some of their southern style. They started going with the poofier hair, more commercial sounding. It seems like, in comparison to his other music prior to this, that it was kind of a get on board with the modern sound. Now, like I say, 85. This was his 85. I have these and have shown these in the past. This is his first solo album, No More Dirty Deals. This is from 1980. He has round 2, 1981. I do need the third album, Last of the Wild Ones, and that would be 82. 80, 81, 82. This is hard rock, borderline southern rock, but a little harder rock. You got the look, going for the street, almost Skinner-y look. So you got these 3 albums, which I do have on CD, but I need to get that Last of the Wild Ones on vinyl. Then there's a break. Then he comes back in 85 with Van Zandt. Different band, different sound, different look, and does that. Then in 87, 10 years after the the Leonard Skinner plane crash, they have a tribute show. They bring Johnny, younger brother of Ronnie, in, and with the original surviving members of Skinner, then they do a tribute tour, and he sings with Skinner for a while. All right, then the band just, it was kind of a one-off type thing, I guess, for a while. Then there's not a whole lot going on. That's 87. 1990, Johnny Van Zant's back. It's not the Johnny Van Zant band like the first 3 albums. It's not Van Zant like the 85, pop rock, not even rock, it's hard rock, but kind of a poppier look. It's not that, it's just Johnny Van Zant, the solo artist. Brickyard Road, I need that also on vinyl. I've got it on CD. And that was his last solo album in 1991. He joined Skinner for their album 1991 and has been with Skinner for every album since. And they continue to put out great music that you never hear because they don't play it on the radio, at least anywhere that I go. And even though I've seen Leonard Skinner in concert multiple times in the past 20 years, it's always the same concert. Never new songs, maybe 1, maybe 2, but it's always a tribute. It's always just a tribute. They are stuck in this rut of always playing tribute shows, and so you never hear any of the great stuff that they put out album after album. Even though there's videos and stuff, you just, at least around here, you don't hear them on the radio. Anyway, sad. I won't go into that. All right, so that was Friday. Now today, it's pouring down rain. We're running around. And so we had to go to a thrift store to drop off some stuff. Went in there, looked around. Not a whole lot going on there. We swung by the antique mall just because it was inside and it was raining, and we went inside and they have a bunch of records in there. So I went into there and dug around and got some stuff. I hadn't been there in quite a few months. So again, nothing super, but just some cool things to fill holes. We'll start with this one, Deep Purple, Come Taste the Band. This is one of the original presses. It's, it's got a name on it. It's in decent condition. The record itself, this is split here. The record itself really needs cleaned up. It's kind of got dirty and smudges, but it was like $5. They've had this at other stores, and I see it, and it's usually in the $8 to $10. And I said, well, either I'm going to get an original press for $8 to $10, or I'm going to buy the reissue for 20, 21, 22. Instead, I got me a $5 copy. So I'll clean that up. It'll be great, playable, to go along with the CD. This was kind of neat. It's funny because I just noticed somebody online was selling one of their albums, so I went into my wish list and started adding their albums because I'd forgotten, kind of forgot about it. But then I ran across this in today. So Talus, Live Speed on Ice. It's their live album. Now Talus, of course, has Billy Sheehan. This is kind of where he got his start. New York band. And then from here he's done all kinds of bands, David Lee Roth, and Winery Dogs, and just all he's just an amazing bass player. Now this was what's funny though, is I'm checking the albums as I'm in the store. I pull this out, the inner, I'm like, hey, that doesn't look like Talus. So the album itself, it's on the green combat label. I'm sorry, the camouflage combat label. It's in decent shape. I can clean it up anyway, but lo and behold, it's in the QR3 Quiet Riot inner sleeve. Oh well, again, it was only $5 or $6. To go along with the other recent Crocus finds, I finally got change of address. This was, again, it was a decent price. This was in really good condition, and so I thought I'd grab that. I think I still need the live album, that came after this, and then the Heart Attack, and that'll be the bulk of the ones from the 80s that I can easily get. Some of the other ones beyond that, reunion stuff, or when they kept doing stuff in the 90s, is on vinyl overseas and it's expensive. But these are all the ones that are pretty generic and easy to find, so I grabbed that. I also still need Metal Rendezvous. Metal Rendezvous. Gary Moore, this was a nice find. I have the, this is Corridors of Power. I have the one after this, which I'm totally drawing a blank on. So it's been like 82 and then 83. This is 82. 83 is the other one. And this would have been the time frame where I saw him in concert. It was actually for the album after this, Crimes of, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, so this was cool. It was in great condition. It was like, I don't know, $6 or $7. And so I thought, I'm going to grab this because these are the years where I was kind of listening to him. And so that was a great find. And then this was the greatest find. So after I got all of those from the one store that I tend to buy stuff from, I go to that one store and they got all kinds of stuff, and they have a section for heavy metal, and I usually go in there. But man, it was only 2 bins, and they really didn't have anything in there. And some of the stuff that was in there, I'm like, is this even metal? They had the Crocus, but they didn't have anything else. So I started flipping through the rock and found the other. Then I went to another. It's a giant indoor antique store, so there's a lot of different booths throughout the whole place, and a lot of different places that have records. Went to another one, and I'm flipping, and I'm finding typical stuff, and it's not thrift store type stuff. It's rock and pop and classic stuff, and and it's average prices, and a lot of pop and stuff from the 80s and 90s. I'm going, and I'm like, wow, they don't have a whole lot here. I've picked up Deep Purple there before and stuff, and they had all that stuff. I get to the very last bin on the top, and I'm flipping, and look at this, boom, Quiet Riot, Keel, it's all stuff I have, but I run into this batch of 80s metal. It's all stuff that I have, though, and of course the prices are outrageous. Van Halen for $20. I'm like, why would I pay for a used Van Halen for $20 when I can get it every day for under 10, and I can get a reissue for $20? Anyway, the prices, and when it got to that music, was a little high. This one, though, not too bad, in the mid-range, and this was a score. This was my daily score. Kicks, Cool Kids. This is their second album. I really was into Kicks for the first album, Cool Kids, and then I kind of lost track of them. Then they became really popular in the mid-'80s, and you got all the Dynamite, all those other albums, which at that point I'd kind of lost base with them. But these first 2 albums I wore out back in the day, and so this was a great find. It's still in the shrink, which I will take off like that. So the cover is, no ring wear. It's really nice. It does have, somebody put a sticker on there. The album itself was in great condition. I'm assuming there's no inner sleeve because this is the Atlantic sleeve. But anyway, that was the highlight of my day. And then yesterday the highlight was getting the Paul Stanley at a decent price. So 2 days, 10 albums, all for cheap. I mentioned in my previous video, one of the previous videos, I think one of the contest videos, of how I was going to cut back on buying, and I finally know how to express that in words. Because I had mentioned this on another video by somebody else in the VC, because they had mentioned it. So I was getting into this rut, and I was showing videos on how I would go to Discogs, find an album I want, click on that guy who I'm getting it from's catalog, and find a bunch of other albums I want, just to save on shipping. Because a lot of times you buy 1 or 2, and then there's no more shipping for the next 3 or 4. And so I had videos about that, buying a bunch of stuff on Discogs. It's easy, it's quick. You go in there, you buy what you want. There's no hunting, there's no thrill. There's just, okay, I want this, this, and this. Yeah, there's a thrill of saying, okay, this one guy has all these ones that I want, so I can buy them all. And then you get in that habit. And I was getting to the point where almost every week or more, I'm looking for a album that would lead me to 2 or 3 albums to save shipping. And it becomes habitual, it becomes expensive. You're buying stuff oftentimes that maybe is not high on your want list. It's just things that he had or they have that you want to fill a hole. And so you start buying stuff that, yeah, it'd be nice to have that, rather than being more selective, rather than finding stuff in the wild. So what I've decided to do, and don't hold me to this because that's today's thought, or it's been this way for the past couple weeks, stop buying online unless it's a new release or something that is really hard to find that I want to get before it becomes outrageous. Brand new releases, if I can get a good price on Amazon and it's a brand new release, I'll go ahead and do that. And things that are brand new that I don't have. But when it comes to buying things like I already have in CD, things like this to fill holes in my collection, I think I'm going to start, when I run across it in the wild, I'll pick it up. The thrill of the find. You get the flip, you get the find, you take what you can get, and you don't go out of your way to go online and track these things down. Because again, it's just kind of too easy to do that. Anyway, enough rambling. That's the game plan for now. That's what I've been doing the past couple weeks. Got for the first time this week and got out and hit 4 different stores and got some stuff. So it was a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Rock on, and I'll be back.